Hey guys, I'm Vulture Culture, and this is the Yamaha SY99 from 1991, and this is the Yamaha EX5 from 1999 or 8 or so. I think there's a 7-year gap between these synths, 7 or 8 year gap, something like that. But they're really great. I think this is 98, and what's so cool about shooting out these two synths versus each other, which is what we're going to do tonight, we're going to check out a bunch of similar patches and just talk about pros and cons of both of these vintage synths. This one is very much just the upgrade version, the Mark II of the Yamaha SY77 from 1989. Really the classic Rompler meets FM synthesizer from Yamaha. It was a very important synth and somewhat overlooked from the 80s. And then this really represents Yamaha taking that technology and then ramping it up with a bunch of other types of synthesis beyond just samples and FM, actually removing FM from it. There's some FM, but not like there is in the SY99, and adding these real-time control knobs. So you can take this patch and change it, whereas on the SY99 we do have a data entry slider, but that's about it. That's going to be as much real-time control, but in a sense we do have two modulation wheels. We have a bipolar and an unipolar modulation wheel, so that's designed to give you the real-time control. You know, the zeitgeist of the late 80s and the 90s was not to slap a bunch of knobs on a synthesizer. It wasn't until really the late 90s where they wanted to do that, and that's what these knobs are for. So let's check out some sounds. Very excited to be here. Mr. Dolly, welcome to the stream. So I'm going to start off with H1 over here, and then A4 on preset 1 over here. So what we have is a patch called Stage Layer, I think is what it's going for on the SY99, and then down here we have Hybrid Roads. So this sounds like, you know, and then up here we've got, oh, I think I wanted A6, this one, sorry, here we go. So let's just play a simple chord here. And so immediately, now, you know, disclaimer off the top, right? It's very hard to say this synth is better than that synth or whatever, especially when we're not able to compare the sort of identical patches or something like that. So this is just maybe the best kind of hybrid Rhodes sound, what it is on the label. And same thing here, we have this sort of FM DX7 plus chorus and reverb type sound up here. And to me, you know, this sort of highlights some of the difference. So if we're just listening to just checking out that chord. It took me a bit to get there. I was like, why does this minor chord sound weird? Okay, so one thing is, if we just pay attention to stereo width, D minor versus, wow, that'll really play tricks on your mind. It seems like the strings element of this one is a little wider, but the electric piano sounds a little tighter, something like that. And then up top here, just the whole thing seems wider. The reverb is really wide. Just listening to the reverb now. Reverb here, not kind kind of strange that that's how that is. That has a very nice sound to it. I'm going to set this phone down here so I can keep up with the chat a little bit better. Mr. Dolly says, any classic synth is worth keeping if you like it. Yes, lots of cool gems in Yamaha's repertoire. Yes, Rocky Mountain Sounds, how's it going? It's good to see you. What's up? Yeah, I love me some fake plants. There's really no reason to even own a synthesizer if you don't have some fake plants by it. So let's go down really low. And then we'll just go up here. I mean, so this one is just scooped, right? Like, it's very bright. And it has the low end. And you really get that DX7 Mark II full tines preset sort of sound. Very dynamic. Up top here, let's try this one. This one can get bright too if you hit it hard enough. But overall, much more of a low, mid-rangey push to it. This is much more high mids. If we just listen to the brightest sounds, right? So we go... Again, hard to compare these patches exactly because little things like, you know, filters and stuff like that can throw the whole thing off because maybe they just wanted a little bit of a darker sound. But up here, I feel like we've got a lot of integrity to the high end. This one, you get a little bit more of that vintage digital character on this patch. A little bit of that bright, barky sort of, you know, it's like internally they couldn't get quite up to full CD quality audio there, you know, maybe on this one they could, but that's sort of where there's some loss of fidelity in the D to A's, and what they had to do is kind of push it a little bit further, and so you get this characteristic sort of gritty digital character. With this synthesizer, you know, I'm almost of the opinion at this point, I love the SY99, but I almost think it's better to get the SY77 because it's going to have a little bit more of that vintage sound. This one sounds so good, so clean. And then over here, we've had about 10 years for Yamaha to evolve, and we can hear it. If you listen to that top end, you can really hear just a really smooth sort of curve at the top as far as that goes. You don't get that harsh cutoff point, whereas over here, this is just smooth. You really don't hear the highest frequencies till you're down here. And here, it's already gotten kind of warm, but here you can hear what I'm talking about, which is that sort of brittle characteristic that I personally love. You know, someone was commenting on my SY99 video. I don't know if I said the sounds were dated or what, but they got into it with me a little bit where they were like, well, you know, and if I use the word dated or something like that, I'm not saying that in a bad way. I bought this synthesizer very much because it does not sound modern. Sounds pretty damn modern, though. I almost wish it sounded, like I said, a little grittier. So let me just play some more stuff here. Barb says the SY99 has those proper time dynamics. Yeah, so I would say, though, that they both have a lot of expressive dynamic range. So let's check that out real quick. I'm going to play very quietly versus loud. I mean, you can really slam it up top. And again, these patches are not supposed to be identical. We're just comparing what one sound designer did on this versus over here. We actually have a couple of other patches. So this one's called 76 Stage. It's an electric piano. It's a much more close emulation. It's using samples, I'm assuming, from a 76 Rhodes Mark I. And so we can, in some ways, this one is a more fair comparison, but it has less effects. So I thought, you know, so here we go. Let me do this up here. Versus, so that has a little bit more of like an authentic Rhodes sound. So, you know, if we go. Again, it's hard to compare because this is kind of a little bit more chorusy. You know, so that's why I went with this one as the comparison. Dubstation says, I think there's a little more in the FM attack on the SY99, giving it a more of a piano strike. Yeah, I agree with that. I need to intoxicate. It's been way too long. Mr. Dolly says the SY99 sounds much more like the DX7. Yeah, and I think we could get some more DX7E type sounds out of the X5. But what is worth saying is an SY99 and a 77 and the rack mount versions, not the 35 and a couple of the other ones, but the ones that are based off of the SY77 architecture, they have a full DX7 Mark II built into them, right? So that's something that's very missing from the EX5. You have real-time controls, and they also have a bunch of new types of synthesis in the X5. So it's not positive and negative. Gingy, welcome to the stream. How's it going? Parbs as a SY77 right here with some amazing patches. Yeah, I wish I had one. Gordon says, I have a Mark I and it's far off. Yeah, so it is much more like a Mark II. And the Mark I has a unique sort of sound. The Mark II and the SY99 are essentially the same, but they do sound different as well. So that's a thing. PC, welcome to the stream. How's it going? Regal says the SY patch needs some speaker emulation. Yeah, so there are different patches in here. We can just check out in here. Johnny, welcome to the stream. Like that little vulture skull next to your name. Dr. Sin says both great patches. Use the SY if you want the FM bite. EX for proper Rhodes mids and warmth. But see, here's the thing. I think that this patch here, this really sounds like a Rhodes to me. Yeah, because it's probably real Rhodes samples in there. It sounds really good. Torben says the AFM is way more than the DX2 engine. That is true. I'm saying that you can load DX7 and for that matter Mark I patches directly into an SY99. You don't need to convert them or anything. That's a really cool feature here, which isn't present here because this is not a 6-op FM synth. So for what that's worth, for some people, that's really a thing. Let's just check out some other patches. I do appreciate that the patches are kind of all laid out the same way over on the SY99. This won't really be fair because patches are kind of all over the place over here. I don't know if someone has one of these, if they can tell me how to search by like category, that would be awesome. But so here's a couple more SY99s real quick. So that's like that like really hyped DX7 type thing. Belrose. And this has some smack on it. Really great. Bell ring. Just love how the 99 sounds. DX7ism. I know that to me almost has like the sound of the DX9 or 100, some of the cheaper 4-op ones. Yeah, so it's not fair to keep doing that though, because I could always go to close by patches on the 99, and the EX5 is just laid out in a much more like stumble upon it sort of way, but not as much of a thing. So yeah, let's see. Dubstation says these are handy file converters. That's true. You can use these to convert files, so that's a thing. Yeah. Torben says you have to go through editors. I wasn't aware of that. I was pretty sure you could drop a floppy into one of these guys. So let's see. I don't know about that. Yeah, so Torben points out that the values have higher resolution. Well, so do the Mark II. It has the same resolution, I believe. Could be wrong. But what you can do with an SY99 series synth is do something crazy like use a sample as a modulator and stuff like that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. Yeah, the algorithms are not exactly the same on the DX and SY99, but they're close is what I'm saying. You can get pretty good. There are comparison videos on YouTube, and here's what I would say as a general, like if you don't TLDR on watching someone else's videos, stay here and watch my video instead, is the E-piano sounds convert very well. Some of the bassline stuff doesn't as much. You get less of a... Now, you can edit the sounds further to get them closer, but if you just do a 1-to-1, the slap bass type stuff doesn't convert as well to the 9977 series. Mr. Dolly says, I do have the TX802, which should be similar. Right, and you can do stuff like use sawtooth waves instead of just sine waves on a Mark II and a TX802. Yeah. Ingolf, welcome to the stream. Good morning. I've got an offer to change my Access Virus KB to a Yamaha SY77 and a Roland D550. Do you think these two instruments are worth the exchange? Well, I want to answer that question, but I'm going to jump to another patch here real quick so that I don't lose all of the people who are here to hear how these two synths sound. So we're going to start with this patch called Stage Layer, and this one's called Piano String. So this should be kind of in the ballpark of what some of us probably... kind of like a big piano string type thing. Let's go ahead and try over here. So again, it's not always fair to compare 1-to-1 here, because the designer of this patch definitely was going for something much brighter. But you'll start to notice a trend. I mean, this is like pre-EQ'd, ready for a mix. Versus here... I mean, the difference is actually quite shocking, isn't it? Versus... Hey Tiffany, how's it going? This is very beautiful though, you know. I think it's very nice. There's an element of this, actually, now that I'm playing them back and forth. This one does sound really big, but I mean, just the low end is... just, it's almost like you use this for the low end and... Ironically, this one sounds more 80s in that it's kind of thin. So, going back to your question here, Virus KB. So, I'm not familiar with the Virus KB, so I'm not going to be able to answer that question at all now that I think about it. That's a tough one. Let's see. I don't know what those go for, so unfortunately. Regal asks, does the SY also have the waveforms from the DX11 and TX81Z? Yes, it does. So let's see. The D550 is worth getting, is what Torben's saying. But it was an SY77 and a D550. I think that's a pretty sick setup. But I don't know what the KB is worth, so... You know, that's a tough one. Yeah. Walter, welcome to the stream. How's it going, my friend? I should really start a Yamaha EX fund in case one of them is for sale locally. By the way, there's differences between the EX5 and EX7 raises the number of keys. The EX7, I believe, is the more budget version of the EX5, correct? One thing that's worth saying, too, while we're just hanging out here. Corbin says, do all of the buttons still work on your SY? Everything on the synth is fucking mint. It's crazy. This is the craziest synth I've ever bought. When I took it out of the box, the previous owner had just taken such great care of it. And it was like opening a brand new box, like a brand new synth. It was crazy. I was like, holy shit. The guy loved this synth so much. It sent me all of the accessories and everything with it. So that's the thing. This synth is a little bit more beat up. I don't know how well you can see some of the scoring here. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I like a beat up synthesizer, or, you know, a woman that's got some, you know, road wear on it. Just because I like women, I'm not trying to sound misogynist. If I was into dudes, I'd like dudes with road wear. So that's a thing. Dubstation says, I like how the SY is glassy and full at the same time. Glass half full. Yeah, I agree with that. That's the thing about the SY99. It's just the sound is always glassy and it's always full. Sometimes to its detriment. It's nice to have some mid-range. This one's very bright, though. Particularly. Aquatic Borealis, how's it going, my friend? Yo, 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 welcome to the stream. So, smashing the likes. I appreciate it. So why don't we jump on to the next one? So this is really cool because they name the patches similar, but they're very different. Or there's something similar to them, but they are not the same. So this one's the Alaska patch on the SY99, and this is the Alaskan patch on the EX5. And the big difference is in the attack time. So let's just, that's okay. Like, we'll just be okay with that. So let's check this one out. Let's see how this sounds over here. So the biggest difference right away is, of course, just the attack time. Where this one you can play pretty fast. Here, you're not going to hear anything if I play that fast, right? So the attack is really slow. But if I just go with a C minor chord... So, comparing these two patches, again, they're not the same. It's not fair to compare these patches, but it gives you a sense of, you know, what's going on. And the fact that the sound designers gave them about the same name is an indicator that they were going for a similar sound on both. And so immediately, I mean, without a doubt, ignoring the attack times, the SY99 is starting to reveal itself as being just an incredibly warm, big, I'm talking truckloads, dump truck ass, big synth, you know, just. Woo. EX5, much more mix ready. Oh, it's just, it's. There's going to be some people who watch this video and they're like, wait, I don't understand. That sounds great. I mean, to me, there's one I would always go for because of the low end. But what I will say is, synths that have a lot of low end sound great on their own when we're doing a demo like this. By the time you get into a mix, you don't always want a synth with a lot of low end, except for bass parts. You often want a synth that actually has quite a lot of high end and stuff. And so there's a part of me that's like, this one does not sound so fucking sexy compared to the SY99 right now, but if we were putting together a mix, this might actually be the better synth as far as like it's just all around thing. But I know what my taste is, and like I said, there's going to be someone who listens to this and they're like, that's fucking awesome. And it is. It's not a bad sounding thing, but what's the, what is it? E? That's not going to work. So it's... Versus, sorry, that was some pretty sloppy playing. By the way, shout-outs if you know what that song is I'm playing there. It's one of my favorite chord progressions of all time. Shout-outs to Robin Beanland. But, you know, just so immediately for me on this patch-to-patch comparison, and I didn't pick the patch, they named them these patches, right? Alaska and Alaskan. To me, it's kind of like I'm always going to go with the 99. I'll EQ out some low end, but when it's not there in the first place, that can be tough. Yes, so Dubstation says, no comparison on the patch. The EX5 is everything I hate about virtual analog, but the SY is fools me, it's so warm. Yeah, and it really does remind me of the D50, which I have just above it here, where, you know, it's counterintuitive. You expect digital synths to be kind of bright and lifeless, but these two synths in particular, the SY99 and the D50, are two digital synths that just fucking get it. You know, they just sound great. Aquatic Borealis says, which is the new one? Yeah, so, by the way, I should also shout out Troy from Togethers for lending me this synthesizer. It's going back to him tomorrow, along with the Waldorf Blofeld, that cursed-ass bitch fucking synth. Sounded amazing, but it took 4 live streams to actually have it. If something went wrong for the first 3, so I'm happy that that synth is going. Not because it doesn't sound amazing. Honestly, I think the Waldorf Blofeld, it just impressed me so much. Probably one of the synths that I would recommend getting used right now. It's just, if you want that Waldorf sound, if you're listening to demos of the Iridium and Quantum and M, and you're like, I love that sound, but you don't necessarily want to spend over $4,000 or whatever a fucking Quantum Mark II costs nowadays. I would say the Waldorf Blofeld for approximately a tenth of that price is a really compelling thing used. I'm talking about Billy Bart Cody. Welcome to the stream. Constantly pulling bass out of analog patches. Why I prefer my Hydra synth for sound design. Sculpt those frequencies to sit right where I need them. Yeah, so I mean, that's what I'm saying about, like, someone's going to hear one of these and go, oh my God, like, let me see, that's not the right patch. Oh, I need to find the patch here. I've lost it. But someone's going to listen to these and be like, oh, that was, you know, I much preferred the EX5 sound because it will fit into a mix much better. Oh, man. I got to find this comparison here. I'm looking for a patch called Elegant, and I wrote the number down wrong. Let's see here. There's some really cool patches in here, by the way. One thing that's also not fair about comparing these is I'm trying to compare similar patches. Truthfully, the EX5 can do a lot of shit. Like, to me, that's almost like a Wave Station Ski Jam type patch. 40 motherfucking thieves up in the stream. How's it going? Let's see. Anyways, I gotta find this fucking patch. It's in here somewhere. Let's play some stuff here. I seem to have scrolled through all of them and missed it. I gotta do a little... Pull up the patch over here. So this one is B5. Wait, preset 2 B5? I wrote these all fucked up. I don't know what I was fucking thinking here. I got all confused. Preset 1s. We might have to find these separately. I don't know. Well, we might have to skip that one and come back. Let's go for B6 lashed. Oh, Elegant was up here. I see what I did. Let's try B5. Brett, there we go. I just wrote the numbers down backwards. That sucks. Sorry for that. Parb says it'd be interesting to hear with the effects turned off. Well, we actually have an effects bypass on both, so we can do that. Dolly says, it's the same for the old Korg Wave Station. Sounds absolutely killer for big sounds, so it's very hard to mix the sounds together. Yeah. My thing about the Wave Station is, if you're going to use it, you need to start your song with the Wave Station. Maybe not at the intro, but you need to come up with your concept for the song around a really awesome Wave Station patch and not the other way around, because those patches do not like to blend in because of all the rhythmic stuff. 40 says, I heard a GS2 the other day. It might be the warmest sounding FM synth I ever heard. So I don't know about the GS2. Talk to me. Let's see. Yeah, the digital filters are great on both. Johnny says 99 more of a stage synth and EX more of a studio synth. Yeah, that's for sure. And they were definitely, you know, music had evolved, you know, like trance music existed by the time this came out. Not so much with the 99. Yeah. Gingy says, how is the SY99 slept on all too often? It's a good question. All right, so what we have is two sort of breathy patches. That's what I wanted to shoot out here. So let's go ahead and... Let's see. Not identical patches, guys. So like I'm trying to head off the comment section where people are like, oh, it wasn't fair. It was the right patch. I know it's not. I'm not going to design two patches that are identical, especially because they have different synthesis engines. So like there's no way to get them close, but I just hope that if we do enough of these, what you'll get is a sense of like which one's better for you. So some thoughts about this one. For one thing, on this comparison, I would have guessed the EX5 in a blind test was the vintage digital, not the other way around. Pay attention to the top end. There's some crazy thunder happening outside. This one's not even trying for the same high end. I wonder if I can get that up. I can turn the filter up with modulation wheel 2 here, so. The high end on this one is crazy, but you do get a little bit of digital breakup in there. It's not perfectly clean, which I'm surprised by, because from 98, 97, 98 or so, this should have been caught up. Yo, we got Zap up in the stream. How's it going? Zap, I wanted to say this to you, and it's just been, I haven't gotten a chance to say it because I haven't caught you on a live stream, but I saw you defending me in the comment section the other day, and I just want to say I appreciate you. 99.5% of the comments I get on this channel are insanely good. Like, everybody's so nice and constructive and positive. I do get some people who say some shit or like, Alex, you're such a fucking idiot because you fucking forgot this one thing about my favorite synth from 1993. Whatever. Like it, and I saw you commenting, and I just want to say thank you. You were defending me, so I appreciate that. Johnny says the 99 thumps bass, but I like both. Yeah. Parb says EX5 definitely does those rompler sounds better than the 99. Yeah. When we get to the guitar patch, we'll definitely hear that. Dubstation Zero says, I think the SY99 is the most underrated, underappreciated vintage digital synth, and I've seen several for $300 to $400. And again, I'm at the point where I've got this one and it's like mint, so I'm like happy, but I think if I was to do it all over again, I'd go with the 77. I think it just add a little bit more of that vintage digital character that I love so much. It almost sounds too good. That's the thing about the 99. Yeah. I appreciate it, Zap. Yeah, Gingy says, hearing that Hi-Fi EX shine through. Yeah, so I mean, the difference is you could just push high end on this much more. There's a ceiling, right? This is going up. Versus over here, you know, can be very bright. But bright is different than having that smooth taper off into the high end, right? Oh, shit. It just sounds so good. Let's see if we can reproduce that, something, you know, more. So I think the moral of this stream, I know we're only 40 minutes or so into this thing, but I would say, truthfully, playing both of these back to back, both awesome. Not exactly the same. This has more of a key sound, whereas this is more just straight choir. But, you know, and this is more keyboardy, this is more romplery, but they're both really great sounding, and that's what you should expect. They're very good. I think they're really great, both of them. So that's a pretty good one. Let's go ahead and check out Lashed. and then Sunbeams. Now, this is not a fair comparison either, actually. I quite like Sunbeam here. I think this is a really cool patch and is a little bit soundtracky. I need to drink more whiskey. I'm fucking blacking out because I haven't drank enough today. Starting to get them shakes. So how's everybody doing, by the way? Miss you guys. We had like a rough month with technical issues, so last month, so it's been really nice hitting KnobCon, coming back and having 2 smooth streams. By the way, is like everything good? Are we having any drop frames? Audio, visual sound good? Hopefully it's okay. Let's check out these 2 patches and then we'll touch base again. So let's go ahead and I'll use this good old standby. I'm going to turn the volume down, try to play 5th chords off of that, so. And then just go down here and. Bring the volume down a little bit more here. Hard to match them perfectly, but very evolving. Little less going on with the SY99. So this is a good example of sometimes the X5 sounds pretty fucking goddamn good. In this case, of course, the low end versus. I guess where I'm going with that is I think the X5 is probably never going to be my go-to thing for bass lines. I think I just always go for something fatter. But I could see that sound, Sunbeam in particular, being amazing in a like in a song and a whole arrangement. So yeah. Parb says the EX5 has notoriously slow loading samples, like 30 minutes to load 16 megabytes. Oh, that's rough. Yes. I think that particular patch is very cool. Dubstation Zero says Left KnobCon really inspired, built out a new Eurorack case around Item and Touring Machine as an expansion for improv to my current live set. That's awesome. That's the Mystic Circuits one, and then Touring Machine I don't know about as much. Is that from Naomi? She was talking about that. Walter says somehow I feel like both should have joysticks. Corbin asked, didn't the UX5 use zip? I do not know the answer to that. I apologize. So let's talk about for a second while we've got 2 cool patches here, you know. See, this one just sounds fucking analog, doesn't it? It's just, it's incredible. If I play the lead stuff more over here. These 2 patches are just like so perfect to play with each other, because if you want that low end, you know, it's here. Or if you play them the other way and play the low end here, you've got this like really nice evolving thing. And then the lead just sounds so fat. Walter, I was thinking the same thing. It does. This one's definitely soundtracky, but it's got a nice like opening up filter shape. If I hadn't just finished my D50 sound library, Neon Chronicles, which by the way is out right now. I don't have any video demos of it yet because I'm trying to get through all the videos for KnobCon before I shoot videos for the D50. But if you own a D50, Neon Chronicles is out. By the way, I think you got it, Walter. I don't remember. If you did, I'd love to know what you think about it. But it is a full bank, so that's all 8 banks with 8 patches each for 64 patches with the Roland D50. If you go to vultureculture.live, you can get it there. And yeah, I put a lot of hard work into that sound bank, so lots of really cool sounds. And what I was going to say is, if I hadn't finished it already, I'd probably add a patch that does the soundtrack thing with the fifths, but where it kind of opens up instead of closing the way soundtrack does. So yeah, definitely cool. Parb says, it's impressive how analog the SY99 filters sound. Maybe it has something to do with the digital audio converters as well. Yeah. Walter says, by the way, Alex, the D50 library was excellent. I love the names on the partials. Yeah, I spent a lot of time doing some, shit like naming the different partials. But I wanted to make sure if anybody bought it that they felt like they got a really great value from it. I'm not trying to fucking rip anybody off. I'm trying to give people some real shit that they can put some bangers out with. So I put some real love into it. It's definitely more pads. I mean, you can even tell by the patches I picked out on these guys, right, that I love pads. I mean, fucking shit. Such a shame that Mod Wheel 2 is not doing anything on this patch. Let's take a second and just chat about the build quality. So these are almost in identical cases. It might not seem like it because you can see the sort of roll off here and then more of like a hard thing here, but these are exactly the same width, and the front panels are almost identical. You've got volume, you've got the exact same controls. So like if you had one of these, you can look at the other one and immediately see what's going on. You've got this screen here and it's got 8 F buttons, and we've got the same thing here. Shift, 8 F buttons. We've got shift and exit, shift and exit. We've got a contrast control here. This one's contrast, like it's a little bit more backlit. But they're pretty goddamn similar. It's clearly the same display, more or less. Like the font is the same between the two. This one has a data entry slider that's missing, but we've got the 4-way arrows on both, as well as the little roller. Then we got the numerical pads the same. We've got the same layout here. This goes all the way through A through H. This is internal card preset 1 and 2, A, B, C, and D, so it's a little bit different, but essentially the same thing where these become 1 through 16 for each one of those. I believe this has twice as many patches on it, but I could be wrong about that. But it's not really an issue in today's day and age because you can load patches in with floppy disks and fucking MIDI and shit like that. So they're very comparable. Build quality, you would think that they're almost the same. They seem to be. I mean, I would have trouble knowing if these are actually different keys or not. But what I can say, I mean, looking at them, they look like they're the identical keys. Now we're on just 2 random patches. But what I will say is the action on the SY99 is just straight up better. It's like really soft. This is a little bit more, but they're both really good. They're not, neither of them's bad. The SY99 is just like up there with maybe the best key beds of all time. I believe this one sends aftertouch and this one does not. Don't fucking execute me if I was wrong about that. That could be the case. We've got almost identical pitch mod and mod wheels. So this is an unipolar, like your typical unipolar, I guess I should say. I like saying unipolar. And then we have a bipolar. So what that means is it's got a little, what do they call that? Detend? That's not the word. A thingy in the middle. And then you can go positive or negative from that. This is the same. You've got a little in the middle point. This one just goes up and down. Nothing about this synth feels cheap. This one's a little bit. Now, this one wasn't taken as well of care. So the 10-ish year difference between the two. Yo, thanks for subscribing, Sugarless. It could just be a condition thing. We also have a touch strip here, so let me go pick something cool. We do all sorts of stuff with this. This allows us to control the pitch of one of the synth engines going on versus the pitch wheel that would bend everything, I'm assuming. By the way, in Neon Chronicles, my Roland D50 library, go ahead and check that out at vultureculture.live. But I did a lot of actually programming what the bender does that might not be obvious the first time you go through the library. So if any of you guys check it out, what's really cool is it actually, like on certain patches, especially with pads, I like it when the pitch wheel goes up in sevenths. So you can sort of do soundtracky type stuff, but with slides. And same thing here, where most of the time with the pitch wheel, you get this sort of action. We got 2 notes range and it bends the whole fucking synth up. But because we have multiple synth engines down here, and up here, by the way, but down here, what we can do with this is just leave one unaffected and only modulate the other. Actually, I don't think that's happening on this patch. I think it's just a regular patch. I gaslit myself into believing that was happening. No, I was right. There is like the synth pad in there. There's like a little brass synth thing in the background. And that's not affected. So, you know, that's an example of that. Let me pull up the next one and then I'm going to catch up. So let's go to B7. That ain't it. B16. And then B7. Okay, so this is another, not the same, right? So they're going to be different, but they were comparable patches. So you can decide what's up. I really like the Sunbeams patch. I thought that sounded great. Let's see what else is going on. Torben says the keybed of the 99 actually derived from the DX5. Should be the same. Yeah, so I don't know why it isn't. Again, I don't think this sends aftertouch. It just doesn't. It's the keybed seems similar, but the action feels different. I don't know why that would be, but that is how it feels. So I have to report that with the caveat that it could just be these two synths in particular. Regal says, I wouldn't be surprised if there's no aftertouch on the EX because of the touch strip, but you really need aftertouch for FM. Yeah. Right, I realize Vulture Culture never moves them, so give it a try. Yeah, it's definitely a thing. I always forget to use mod wheels. I'm much more of an aftertouch-oriented person. Yeah. Sweden, welcome to the stream, by the way. EX5 felt similar, very similar to my DX7 Mark II, whether identical or not. Similar action on my Korg Z1. So it could just be these two synths. So that's always a risk of trying to compare two vintage synths, is they are not the same as when they left the factory, and you never know what goes on. Corbin says the EX5 does have aftertouch. Okay, so just strike that from the record. I was incorrect about that. It just doesn't seem to show up in any of their patches, so I don't know why. Anyways, let's check out this one. This one's called Sweeper. So we're going to go ahead and play... Why don't we play a fucking ninth chord? Sorry, I had the volume down. Let's try this again. Let's do it raw. Let's compare. Very different. We've got more LFO action going on here, but you know, it's giving us some sense of the resonance of the digital filter, and they're nice, slow evolving ones. So I thought they were comparable. Doesn't appear to be doing anything. Oh, it's controlling the attack. Doesn't appear to be doing too much relevant to either of these patches. So again, we'll go ahead and... So let's talk about these. So what do we hear, guys, immediately when we're talking about what I picked these patches not just because they're pretty, but because I want to talk about digital resonance and the way that filter sounds. So I'll play it again with that in mind. What are our thoughts on the character of the digital resonance here? This one's called Sweeper Torben. And it's called Corks on the EX5. They're not the same, right? You know, who knows what the resonance values are. We could go in and edit them, but what's the fucking, you know, like that's not going to be as much fun as actually just hearing sounds and making a decision that way. What do we think, guys? What do we think about the resonance on the two of these? Torben says, the 99 is better. Aquatic says, the 99 appeals to me more. Parb says, I love the SY99 resonance. Sounds mogish with the resonance. EX5 definitely more sterile. Dubstation 0 says the EX resonance sounds layered in where the SY, the res is part of the whole sound. Regal says very different filters. SY sounds much more vintage. Gingy says the EX mod matrix sound, the 99 smooth analog style sweeps. Zap says the EX5 cuts through. Yeah, it's true. The EX5 does have like kind of an in-your-face sort of character to it. Whereas the SY99 sounds great on its own, but it doesn't have nearly as much mid-range as the EX5, and it's more scooped, right? So it's got a lot of low end and it's got a lot of high end. This does go up higher, but I am surprised by how much you can hear of the resonance, or I'm sorry, of the frequencies, like still kind of hitting a shelf. They don't go all the way beyond human hearing. Try way up high. Dr. Sin says, personally, the low-end loss with the resonance on the 9 still bugs me, though it does sound nice. Yeah, I could see how that could be. Whoa. That is a nice growl. I think it's an unfair comparison between these two on the low end for this particular patch. I just don't think this patch is a great comparison point. So let's go ahead and try A7. Okay, so this is going to get real interesting, guys. So I need to go to preset B. What the fuck did I write? That is so bad. I'm looking for... Yeah, here we go. These are two sorts of 12-string guitar sounds. And in this case, we're using samples, of course. On this one, I forgot where I can check that out, but it might not be samples, might be some of the other stuff, the FTDSP stuff that's just super cool. Let's play something like... Okay. Let's see. What was I playing? There we go. We got a volume difference here, so that's a thing. Of course, you can't compare the two entirely based off of, you know, just two patches. Again, it's not fair. But this patch, Heavenly Guitar, in particular, I was impressed by, and I wanted to find what was like the closest thing on the SY99. And I remember finding some really cool kind of dual guitar patches on the SY99, but when you shoot these out against each other, I love how like you get these little random... Sometimes you get a little bit more of like a almost palm muted sound. Yeah, if you hit hard enough, I guess you get harmonics. So, comparing these two, there really isn't a comparison. Like, just, and again, not saying between the synths, but just saying between the patches. This one just has so much articulation. And the high end is so hyped. Maybe too hyped, right? Like, I mean, it's not for everybody, but for me, if I could play notes, it would be fucking great. Yes. So let's see. Dubstation Zero says the SY is a lion in the wild and the EX is a blind cat in Florida. Aquatic Borealis says depends on what you're looking for. The SY99 trance quality is dreamy, but some sounds are more appealing on the EX5. Yeah, there's no clear winner. Like for me, anyways. Like, or actually, let me rephrase that. I know which of the two synths I'm gonna keep. Probably pretty obvious, but I don't know that that's more than just my personal preference. I always want to be careful because my taste isn't everybody's taste. And these videos are watched by so many people. And so I want to make sure that when I kind of show things off, I show the blemishes in all of both. Walter asks, when did you get the 99? That's a good question. I want to say about a year ago. Torben says the AN, FDSP, and VL must be great for some sounds. Probably the bass will be much better on the AN. Don't forget they now put the AN engine into the new Montage Plus. Yeah. Regal says an interesting comparison would be the X or a Triton compared to newer Romplers. Yeah, I mean, that would be pretty good. Yeah, this patch is just great. Let's check out some other patches here, though, because there's a few that are good. So here's Steel 6. Very nice reverb. The reverb in this sounds great. I don't know why I don't like the reverb as much in the EX5. Now, it's a little less realistic sounding. Really great vibrato. Here's one called Jazz Guitar that I'm a big fan of. Nylon 6. Almost sounds like a piano to me. The 12 string we started with, right? This is like a really 80s Stratocaster sound. Finally, some mid-range. Echoes 6. So this has some really great sounds. Oh, this one's the best, actually. Do I have this as a comparison? Yeah, I do. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up... Here we go. So now comparing a couple of guitar sounds to Stratocaster guitar sounds. So this is called Strat Pad. A lot of the times, I don't know what this is, but this one seems to be an octave lower than this one. So that is what it is. So... Okay. Some interesting playing, but... So here you can hear, listen to the kind of unnatural sound to the high end here. Right? Versus... much more natural sort of sound to it. So I think that is that kind of like FDSP stuff where it starts to really get in there. Dr. Sin says, here's what you do. Get a MoTVS rack, throw in a VL and AN card, play it from the SY99. You'll be missing some FDSP stuff, but the modern Rumpler sound set in the Motif plus VL, AN, and AFM. Wow. That's pretty awesome. Aquatic Borealis says, I would love to spend an hour in your synth studio just to compare everything. You've got some great stuff. I am the luckiest human being on the fucking planet. I've got so many great synths, and you'd always be welcome. If you're ever in town, Aquatic, you should come right on over. Torben says the effects are a big advantage over the 77. Mind Idiot, welcome to the stream. How's it going, my friend? Kev Human, welcome to the stream. Just reading about the 99 as zoned A-touch as opposed to channel. Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. Okay. I'm not going to pretend like I understand this entirely, but what I would say is that the way zoned aftertouch works is you can have different zones. So it's like poly aftertouch, but not as deep, where you can have like one, you can, I think, divide it into like something like 5 zones. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that at all. But where you have different aftertouch in those zones, which is quite useful, right? So if you're playing kind of like a monophonic lead type thing up top and playing chords on the left, you've got different aftertouch values. So it's not quite polyphonic aftertouch, but it's pretty damn close, and probably not a comparison or not something anybody would notice who's not into synths, right, when they're listening to a song. Let's see here. Walter says, with the new montage currently in the stage 4 is the most expensive keyboard on the market, and someone in Yamaha was like, hold my beer, I don't expect the new montage 88 to be under 4,500. That is a steep price, especially when you consider that these guys are both sub 1,000. Let's see. Regal says the SY is emphasizing the pick scraping of the string. Yeah, so to me that's a much more fake sound than... That's a very realistic sound. So when it comes to the guitars, I was shocked because I thought the SY99 had great guitars, and I think it does. Don't get me wrong. I think it might be in some of the multis had some really good guitar sounds. So maybe I need to pull that up. But just comparing the single voice patches, this one doesn't hold up as well when it comes to guitars. Now, for me, I'm not like usually going for guitar sounds, so it's not a big deal. So let's see what's going on. Mind Idiot says, not bad, got the wrong DX7 on eBay, wanted a Mark II with the floppy disks, and they sent you with the S. Oh, that sucks. Sorry to hear that, Mind Idiot. That's fucked up. You should send it back to them, just on principle, even if you're happy with it. Let's see. Johnny says, set up a guitar via MIDI to go into the Roland GR55 with Strat and Real Strat plus SY99 Strat. Now you're Robert Fripp. Walter says, all the acoustics are probably going to be better on the EX just because of the size of the ROM. Mind Idiot says, going to fly to Japan and cut some dude. I do have a video coming up on the channel. I just keep pushing it back because I have all of his other videos coming out. I have a video coming out every day with KnobCon, and but I do have one on tips for buying synths, the used Japanese market. So that'll be coming up in about a month, I'm guessing. Torvis says, another drawback of the 99s, the multis only provide one sound per channel, so no combinations possible like on the M1 or T models. So we'll have to check that out too. Let's go ahead and move on to C11 and D16. Okay, so we've got Crystal Lake Enthusian. Again, very different patches, but just hopefully to give everybody a sense of the comparison between the two. I just want to make sure this stream, if someone... Here's my goal for the stream. If someone is watching and they're like, I kind of want an SY99, but maybe I should go with the EX5 because it's got the real-time controls, and I kind of like the sound of like the Jupiter 8000, sorry, the JP 8000, stuff like that. But then I also kind of want something that's a little bit more vintagey, a little bit more DX7-y, and they don't know which to buy. I'm hoping by the end of this stream, they'll have heard enough of sounds to be able to make a decision. So let's go ahead and try. Kind of like Iceman-y sound here. One thing I'll say about the X5, of course it's thinner, but there's really a nice evolution of a lot of the sounds, you know? Yo, thanks for subscribing. love those little, whatever those are, glinting around in there. Wind chimes, yeah. Dr. Synth, thank you for hanging out. I really appreciate it. Have a good rest of your night, and I hope you enjoy. I don't think I'm going to run this stream too much longer because I wanted to really focus on comparable patches, and so you probably got the gist of it, but I'll catch you next week, and all my KnobCon stuff is still coming up, so definitely check that stuff out. Let's see. Mind Idiot says, a lot greasier mid from the SY99, a lot better definition on the EX5. Yeah, the EX5 can just push like a clear high end up in those really high frequencies that the SY99 just doesn't have. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Mind Idiot says, honestly, the sweet spot is in between them. I think that's the fucking truth. Like, if I could somehow hybridize these two into one synth, that would be amazing. JJ says, both of these synths can be fully expanded with the additional real-time control through MIDI Mixer SysX. I'm guessing the software editors are great as well. The X can probably do everything. Mind Idiot says, also the EX5 patch starts with that really high register detail, really glassy and almost like a frozen granule. Very well spoken, Mind Idiot. Yes. Aquatic Boy Alex says, does UVI have an SY99 emulation? I don't believe they do. I think they don't, but don't quote me on that. I mean, Google is always better than me when it comes to knowing things, but I don't think they do. I think they stopped at the 77 because the SY99, it's like, I think I'm one of the only people on the internet right now that's like saying this is an awesome synth. It just got left behind because it was really a very 80s synth that came out in 91, you know? And I just think at that time people were not into what was going on with this. I think the 77 didn't do as well because it was late. You know, it was the D50, the M1, and then the 77, right? And so the 77 didn't do so great. The 99, the upgraded version of the 77, also didn't do so great. So that's a thing. Mighty Pinto, how's it going, my friend? Hello, hello. So let's go through some of the multis here. I just want to check out, let's see what's going on here. See if we can find. Wow, this is interesting. Love those types of sounds. Right. Try preset 2. That just gave me so much joy. I was hoping to find like a guitar. Hoping to find a cool sort of thing. So I'm gonna just play a couple more here. Orchestra hits, yeah, it's something else. I'm gonna play a couple more patches, just so you guys can kind of hear what we got going on. Got some pretty good panpipe sounds in my Roland D50 library, Neon Chronicles. Definitely check that out. Here's some more. This one's called Phantom. It's just fucking awesome. I'm gonna just move on here and check out whatever this is. And I haven't even been touching these real-time controls, but they're here. If you want to know some of my opinions, the reason I'm not touching these, go check out the EX5 stream I did. But basically, I don't love them because watch what happens. So if you can see this, I don't know how well you can. As I cross the 100% mark, these are endless encoders, but they have a low and a high end. So if I play this, it just jumps back to 0, which I think is so stupid. Like, why not just make it where it's not an endless encoder if you're going to have those encoder ranges? So here's another patch. Really cool, sort of, just incredible split sound. Love it. Really incredible. Emperor. Just massive. Let's try out Stratosphere. Pretty good. We already played that one. Let's try Neo City. A lot of fun. Let's see, let me catch up here with the chat. Aquatic says, weird question, what audio interface would you recommend for 4 to 6 input? I have a Focusrite 8-in-6, but I want another interface to take on the road. Harb says the X5 is quite a pad monster. Yeah, they both are, but this is going to be a little bit more analog-y, and this one's got like just more motion to it overall. I would say one thing that I'm impressed by is it seems like the modulation is deeper in the EX5, where you can get kind of more evolving sounds, more complex sounds. This is going to be much more straight ahead, but the sound is really good. I think I have a Focusrite 8-in-6 that I use for the road. I have a Focusrite Scarlett 20-in or whatever, that's my main one, but I use RME's USB 32-in now, that I have just 4 preamps, one of them being the Scarlett, just running into that. RME is expensive, but I'm very happy with it. I think Focusrite's great. I mean, I don't know enough about preamps to really give you any sort of good technical opinion, but in my opinion, all of the stuff about preamps is like really overblown, and you probably don't need to worry about it too much. I think Focusrite makes great shit. They kind of make the standard, and they're really cheap for what they are. Like, they're cheap for really good quality. They're not like some other companies that will go unnamed that sometimes don't have the best reputation for quality. So I think that's probably pretty good. I don't know that I would go much cheaper than Focusrite, I guess. That's kind of the problem with them, is it's like, it's pretty damn good. We'll check a couple more out. Wow, it's just so cinematic. Really cool cyberpunk type sounds. It's called Asia. Oh, it sounds like a D50. Really nice. So it's called Analog Strings. Reminds me a lot of the Adagio Espressivo patch in Omnisphere, like one of the OG patches. Oh yeah. Sounds very nice. Twin tenor. So why don't we check that out real quick? We actually do have some sorts of similar sounds. Oh, this one's beautiful. Yeah, so this one's called tenor, this one's called twin tenor. Obviously this one's much more hyped. So yeah. Textures! Let's see. Barb says, yeah, the EX5 really does have those evolving soundscapes with a broader palette of samples and high frequency content, if a little digital sounding. Dub says it's ugly brass. Yeah, for sure. Kev says, I was looking at Arturio's audio fuse. Yeah, that sounds great too. I don't know enough about it, but what I will say, hey, Paul, welcome to the stream, by the way. You know, as a mastering engineer, I really just don't care about preamps all that much. I know it sounds like really weird because it seems like mastering engineers are the ones who like complain about really minor differences, but I just think that stuff is like, people are just like tricking themselves into, they're gaslighting themselves into spending like crazy amounts of money. So I'm going to play just a couple more here and then we'll call it a night. Really cool. Dark. Oh, I remember this one. Yeah, so that's a thing. Someone sample that and make a fucking ambient record. Jesus. That's a good one. So yeah, I think I'm going to call it there for tonight. What a fun stream. I mean, I'm still going to chat with you guys for a bit. Wow, that's some crackly natured stuff. But yeah, I think that's a good place to get there. Let's see. Zap says the Audient Evo. Yeah. Paul Donahue, welcome to the stream. If I didn't say hi already, I had a SY35 back in '93. Could only afford owning a, only dream of affording the 99. Yeah, I think that's the problem with the 99 is that they were expensive when they came out, and you know, that kind of sucks. Yeah. Yeah, so my opinion is most of the time preamps are overkill. They're not doing a whole lot. You know, essentially what a preamp does is it's a volume knob. That's its job. All of the tone and stuff that people talk about, I mean, that's there. But what you really want from a preamp is like clean, and then you add the magic, right? But not everybody wants to do that. They want to buy stuff. They want to buy really expensive stuff that has the magic in it. I sort of get it, as I'm in a studio with a lot of really expensive hardware, but synths are a little different than preamps. Like, I wouldn't spend my money on preamps. I would get very basic, friendly, good. Don't cheap out, like get really like knockoff products or something, but get like good stuff. But don't ever feel like you need to spend a lot of money. Probably unnoticeable difference. So yeah, let's see. Tube preamps are cool on vocals. Yeah, so this microphone here is a tube microphone. So there's something to that. But I'd rather get a tube mic than a tube preamp, you know? But maybe you get the tube preamp and then you run everything through that. I don't like color on my preamps, right? Maybe some people want to have a bunch of different preamps. To me, that's like just kind of losing the plot. I like preamps to be neutral. So if I want to add like a really characterful mic, this has a character to it, then it's going to be, the preamp stage is going to be clean and you're really hearing what the mic sounds like. Whereas if you run everything through the same preamp, right, and it has a character to it, like a lot of the expensive ones are not flat. They have a little hyped high-end mids, a little scooped, a little clean up a little mud for you for free, add a little bit of bass, whatever. Well, if you run everything through that, everything's going to have that EQ curve sort of stamped into it. And then you're going to be spending time trying to undo that where it doesn't work. Because not everything, I mean, it should be obvious, but not everything should have the same EQ curve. Vocals should have a certain kind of EQ curve, drums should have another one, stuff like that. So yeah. UVI had a sale, I missed it, that sucks. Yeah, the UVI stuff though, I need to get into that. I'm hoping to catch Arturia on a sale so I can get a plugin to shoot out against this bad boy. Everybody voted that the Arturia CS80 is what I should shoot out against the CS70M, so that's a video I should do, because not everybody's going to get the opportunity to hear the difference between a true vintage CS poly and the software. So I think that would be interesting. I'd be curious to see what the difference is as well. Yeah, so anyways, guys, this was a blast. Next week I will be back. I think next week we're going to be doing finally the deep dive on the CS70M. So I have a video out on the CS70M versus the CS80. It's a good like sort of summer reading to do over the week, just to familiarize yourself with the differences between those two synths. But next week, what's interesting about that video is I really don't go through stuff like here's how the oscillator sounds in that video, because it's all about comparing the different points in between those two synths. So yeah. So Kev Human must be free with something. Yeah, I thought about maybe buying the controller, but I don't think you get the whole V collection with any of their controllers. Yeah, but this was a lot of fun. Next week, I think, don't hold me to it, CS70M. I will have more KnobCon videos coming out every fucking day. And if you want to support the channel, best way is if you have a Roland D50 hardware or software, boutique or Roland V-Synth, any of those versions this will work with, but this is my new patch library. And you can get it at vultureculture.live. And we also have Diodes and Rust, my vintage industrial drum sample library. That's up there for $10. And Inktomi, the link's been in the chat. It's my free vintage chorus and reverb plugin. So all of that stuff is a great way for you to help support the channel, but also get something really cool out of it. I haven't put out a bad product yet, I think. And yeah, so that'd be a cool way to help me out. Anyways, guys, I love all of you. I hope you have a wonderful week. Love and light, bitches. I am out.